You could see in his eyes, nothing behind the eyes, dead behind the eyes, no soul, NPC, non-player character.
Surrounding that Louisiana man who police say shot and killed 8 children. 7 of those victims were his own children, as well as critically wounding his wife and another woman. Investigators now say 31-year-old Shamar Elkins and his wife were right in the middle of separating and were actually due in court today. Police now also investigating to figure out how exactly he got a hold of the gun. He was convicted of a felony back in 2019 and should not have been able to buy or get a hold of the assault-style weapon police say was used. Now, this domestic attack from over the weekend now being marked as the nation's deadliest mass shooting in more than 2 years.
We've never seen anything like this. This amount of evil violence that happened, and that's what it is, it's evil, is something that's disturbing, and it's going to take a long time for this community to recover.
Sometimes a tragedy arrives with warning signs scattered all around it. Quiet signals that nobody acted on, or that no one could have imagined would ever lead where they did. This is the story of what happened on West 79th Street in Shreveport, Louisiana, in the early hours of April 19th, 2026. It is the story of 8 children who never came home. And it is a story that forced an entire city, an entire country, to stop and ask, how does something like this happen? Welcome back. I'm your host, and today we're going deep into one of the most devastating domestic tragedies this country has seen in years. Take a breath. This one is heavy. To understand what happened that morning, we first have to understand the family at the center of it. Welcome to Caught in the Web True Crime Stories. Kindly support us by subscribing to this channel and turn the notification icon. Shamar Elkins was 31 years old. He had grown up in Shreveport. He spent time serving in the United States Army and had built his life right there in the city he grew up in. By all outward appearances, he was a present and involved father. Neighbors described him as someone who showed up, someone who was there. His wife, Shaniqua Elkins, had known him for a long time, over a decade. They had been together through some of the most formative years of their adult lives, and they made it official on April 9th, 2024, which notably was also Shaniqua's birthday. She shared the news herself online, celebrating that they had finally tied the knot. Together, they had 4 daughters who carried the Elkins name, but Shamar's family extended further than that. He also had children with other women, children with the last names Pugh and Snow. In total, he had 7 children spread across multiple households. And by his own social media presence, he didn't keep those worlds separate. He showed up for all of them, or at least he presented himself as someone who did. On Easter Sunday, April 5th, 2026, he posted a photo of himself outside a church alongside all 7 of his children, dressed up and smiling. The caption described it as a blessed day, the first time he had ever attended church with all of his kids together in one place. 2 weeks later, 8 children would be dead. Somewhere beneath that Easter photo, something had been pulling the fabric of this family apart. And the social media trail, looking back at it now, is almost impossible to ignore. In March of 2026, Shamar shared a public post asking a blunt question directed at fathers. If you could go back and have the same children, but with a different woman, would you? Shamar's response was visible to anyone who cared to look, and it was not the response of a man at peace with his marriage. A few days later, he posted 4 words on his own page with no context attached: understand to be misunderstood. Then came April, and the tone began shifting sharply. But this time, it was coming from Shaniqua. On April 8th, she shared a post about the power a woman finds when she replaces a man with peace rather than another person. 3 days later, on what would have been their 2nd wedding anniversary, she shared something far more personal, a lengthy reflection about being done with the role of wife. She wrote about cooking and cleaning, about pouring everything into a relationship, about sharing her bed and her space. She wrote that she no longer wanted any of it. Not out of bitterness, she said, but because she was choosing herself. 2 days after that, on April 13th, she posted one more time. The sentiment was simple but final. She no longer hated him. She just didn't feel him anymore. What they once had turned into lessons, and those lessons had turned into distance. Shaniqua had made her decision, and by all accounts, people close to the situation confirmed as much. She was done. Now, none of that should be read as anything other than what it was: a woman making a courageous and deeply personal choice for her own well-being. What came next was not her fault. It was never her fault. On April 17th, 2026, just 2 days before everything fell apart, Shamar took his oldest daughter out for lunch, just the two of them. He posted a photo of her in the car, catching her off guard. It looked, on the surface, like a normal father-daughter moment. But whatever was happening inside his mind in the days leading up to April 19th, we may never fully know. What we do know is what his actions produced. In the early morning hours of April 19th, 2026, Shreveport police received a call about a domestic disturbance. What they found when they arrived defied anything those officers had encountered in their entire careers. Investigators pieced together the sequence of events across multiple locations. It appears Shamar first went to a residence on Harrison Street, where Shaniqua was. She was shot there. Her injuries were critical, life-threatening. He didn't stop. From Harrison Street, he drove to the 300 block of West 79th Street, the family home where the children were sleeping. What officers discovered at that home on West 79th Street became a scene that the Shreveport Police Department described as one of the most extensive crime scenes the department had ever processed. 7 children were found inside the house. An 8th was found outside in the area between the home and the back of the property. All 8 of them were gone. 7 of the 8 were Shamar's own biological children. The 8th was their cousin, an innocent child who happened to be there that morning. A second adult woman who had also been at the West 79th Street location was found shot and in critical condition as well. A 13-year-old boy who had managed to escape from the Harrison Street scene had jumped from a roof at some point during the ordeal. He was injured, but he survived. He is expected to make a full recovery.
About 5:55 a.m. on Sunday morning, Shreveport police received the first call regarding a disturbance at a residence in the 300 block of West 79th Street. The caller stated that they were on top of a house. The suspect was inside and that a male had been shot. 3 minutes later at 5:58, dispatch received an additional call indicating the suspect was a relative of the caller. A minute later, 5:59 a.m., dispatch was advised that approximately 9 individuals resided at the location. The caller further stated that the suspect, identified as Shamar Elkins, had shot everyone inside the home. At 6 o'clock a.m., 1 minute later, the caller advised that she and her children had fled from the roof and were now in the backyard. 6:01 a.m., officers arrived on the scene. 6:03, officers made contact with the caller at the residence. At 6:05 approximately, officers requested the Shreveport Fire Department to stage at a nearby location close to Linwood. 6:07 a.m., a second call was received regarding a shooting in the 500 block of Harrison Street. The caller stated that her boyfriend had shot her, taken her 3 children, and fled the scene. 6:08 a.m., the victim identified the suspect as Shamar Elkins. At 6:10, dispatch linked the Harrison Street shooting with the shooting on West 79th Street and that they all were related. At 6:15, officers received information that the suspect had carjacked a red Kia Sportage at West 79th, closest to Linwood. At 6:17 a.m., our traffic units out on random patrol encountered or observed that particular vehicle traveling southbound on Interstate 49. The officers advised at 6:18 that they were crossing the Red River Bridge into Bossier City. At 6:20, officers received information that the children taken from the Harrison Street residence may be inside of the fleeing vehicle. 6:23 a.m., officers advised that they were exiting near Swan Lake area. 6:25 a.m. approximately, officers located the injured victims from the Harrison Street shooting. 6:29 a.m., officers made contact with the suspect through an exchange of gunfire. At 6:30 a.m., officers confirmed contact with the suspect in the 400 block of Brompton Lane. 6:40 a.m., officers advised that the suspect vehicle was empty and no children were located inside. 6:43 a.m., officers cleared the residence of West 79th Street where multiple deceased victims were located.
When after leaving West 79th Street, Shamar carjacked a vehicle just down the road at the corner of West 79th and Linwood Avenue. Shreveport police located the car and a chase began from Shreveport across the parish line into neighboring Bossier City. Officers deployed their firearms to stop the pursuit, and Shamar Elkins was pronounced dead at the scene. Louisiana State Police took over that portion of the investigation. When everything was accounted for, detectives were managing 4 active crime scenes: the Harrison Street residence, 2 locations on West 79th Street, and the location in Bossier City where the chase ended. The Caddo Parish Coroner's Office worked to formally identify all 8 children. Their names were Jyla Elkins, 3 years old, Shayla Elkins, 5 years old, Braylon Snow, 5 years old, Kadarian Snow, 6 years old, Kayla Pugh, 6 years old, Layla Pugh, 7 years old, Markaden Pugh, 10 years old, Soraya Snow, 11 years old. 8 children, ages 3 to 11, gone in a single morning. This tragedy became the deadliest mass shooting in the United States in more than 2 years. In one day, it doubled Shreveport's total shooting death count for the entire year. Let that sink in for a moment. In the hours and days after April 19th, people poured onto the streets near West 79th Street. Neighbors, strangers, people who had no connection to this family at all. They came anyway. Because when something this devastating happens in your city, you feel it whether you knew those children or not. City officials, law enforcement, faith leaders, and community members gathered outside that home. Shreveport Mayor Tom Arsenault, who was on the scene from early in the investigation, described it as possibly the worst tragedy the city had ever faced.
All I can tell you today is my heart is saddened. It has brought me to my knees, and of course that's a great place to be, because then we can communicate with God.
Asking you to please utilize every resource that the sheriff has brought forth now when you know that these situations occur. We cannot be and make this a joke. This is not a freaking joke. This is real, and this is the result when someone snaps. So I'm gonna ask the community, along with prayer, with every mental health consultant, counselor that is out here, this family and this community needs you. I need you. Because how do we get through this? How do we get to the next level?
So I know that there was some infidelity she didn't necessarily express it to me, but I do know that she came to me and she asked me about helping her properly file for divorce. And to my understanding, prior to this incident, they were scheduled to go to court on Monday, which was the next day. Cousin did express that, he was argumentative about it, so he was having arguments with her about it, but there was no physical anything that was going on, not prior to what went on Sunday.
Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry issued a statement expressing heartbreak and gratitude to the first responders who worked the scene. One man who described himself as the father of one of the adult victims and the grandfather of some of the children spoke through visible grief. He talked about how recently he had been with his grandchildren, laughing, playing, having fun. He asked every grandparent who heard him to hold on to those moments. He wept for his daughter, still fighting in a hospital, and he wept for the children who were no longer there. A local pastor reminded those gathered of the serenity prayer, of accepting the things that cannot be changed, of changing the things that can, and of trusting that even in the most senseless pain, something can still be built from the rubble. He spoke of hope not as naivete, but as necessity. The Shreveport Police Department confirmed that they had one prior documented interaction with Shamar Elkins. When they reviewed that history, there was nothing in it that could have pointed to what he was capable of doing. So what do we do with all of this? The hard truth is that there are some things we cannot fully explain. WAS investigators confirmed that the events of April 19th were domestic in nature, rooted in the breakdown of a relationship, in a man who could not accept a woman's decision to leave. That context doesn't make it explicable, it makes it horrifying, because it means that what happened on West 79th Street is part of a broader, devastating pattern of what can occur when someone, unable to process rejection, unable to let go, chooses destruction instead. Shaniqua had done everything right. She had communicated her decision clearly. She had chosen peace. She had chosen herself. None of what followed was a consequence of her choices. None of it. Currently, Shaniqua is alive and recovering from her injuries, as is the 13-year-old boy who escaped. Their survival in the middle of all this loss is something to hold on to. Where the community is doing what communities do in the wake of grief, it is coming together. Mental health counselors and resources have been mobilized. Faith leaders are present. Conversations about domestic violence and its warning signs are being had loudly and urgently in a way they perhaps weren't before. But 8 children are still gone, and that is something Shreveport and the nation will carry for a very long time. Before we close, I want to say something directly to anyone watching who might be in a difficult or dangerous situation at home. Your safety matters. Your life matters. There are people and resources available to help you. Please reach out. And if you recognize warning signs in someone around you, someone who is struggling with loss, rejection, or extreme emotional instability, please take it seriously. To take it to someone who can help, it can make all the difference. If you found value in today's discussion, please like, comment, and subscribe to Caught in the Web. Your support helps this channel continue telling these stories, because these stories matter. The names matter. The lives matter. 8 children. Their names were Jayla, Shayla, Braylon, Kadarian, Kayla, Layla, Markadin, and Soraya. Remember them. I'll see you in the next episode.